The ribbon fell in two perfect halves, cameras flashed, and Brielle Ashford Kent smiled like she'd just conquered Everest instead of building a glorified security booth. The gatehouse gleamed behind her, marble pillars, wrought iron details, bronze plaques already installed. $57,000 of HOA funds transformed into a monument to her ego. I stood at the back of the crowd, thumbs hooked in my belt, watching her champagne toast. She hadn't noticed me yet. Wouldn't matter when she did. She never looked at me long enough to actually see me. What she didn't know, what none of them knew yet, was that the entire structure sat 4 feet onto my property. And in about 90 seconds, when I walked up to that microphone they'd set up, I was going to explain what that meant. Let me tell you how we got here. My name is Rob Sullivan. I'm 58 years old, and I've owned Sullivan's Excavation and Grading out of Moorfield, West Virginia for 32 years. Started with a used backhoe and my grandfather's dump truck, built it into a fleet of 6 machines and 11 employees. We do everything from foundation work to septic systems to road grading. If it involves moving dirt in Hampshire County, odds are my equipment's been there. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Ever had someone build something on your land without asking? I've lived on the same 43 acres since 1991, when I bought it from the Hendricks family for $68,000. The property runs along County Road 17, tucked up against what used to be farmland and timber lots. My house sits 200 yards back from the road. The front 20 acres is mostly wooded. I've got a barn, an equipment yard, and a gravel drive that connects to the county road at the northwest corner of my property. That drive, officially called a private easement in my deed, is the only paved access to County Road 17 for a half mile in either direction. Everything else is either cliff face, wetlands, or landlocked parcels. Which is why, when Riverside Meadows development bought up 600 acres next to me in 2019, their lawyer showed up at my door with a proposition. His name was Martin Vickers, wore a suit that probably cost more than my truck, and sweated through it in my driveway on an August afternoon. The cicadas were screaming in the trees. Mr. Sullivan, my clients are developing a luxury community, 78 homes, clubhouse, tennis courts. We'd like to purchase an access easement across your property to connect to County Road 17. I'd already seen the survey maps filed at the county office. Knew exactly what they needed. You want to use my driveway. We'd like to purchase permanent access rights. We're prepared to offer $40,000, plus we'll repave the entire easement to commercial standards, widen it to 24 feet, and add drainage. You'd maintain private ownership, but we'd have legal right-of-way for our residents. I walked him down to look at the access point. My driveway was 12 feet wide. Potholed asphalt I patched myself every few years. It served me fine. I didn't need their money or their improvements. Not interested in selling, I said. Vickers wiped his forehead. Mr. Sullivan, we're offering very generous terms. I said no. He tried twice more over the next month. Raised the offer to $60,000. I kept refusing. Then his clients tried to get the county to invoke eminent domain, claiming public necessity. That lasted until the county engineer pointed out that Riverside Meadows was a private development, not a public utility, and eminent domain doesn't work that way. So they did what developers do when they can't buy what they want. They found another option. They built their main entrance a quarter-mile south, blasting through rock and wetlands, spending God knows how much on engineering. The development went up over 3 years. Big houses, starting at $650,000, all the luxury amenities. The HOA formed in 2022. I watched it happen from my porch, didn't affect me one bit. Then last October, Martin Vickers came back. Different approach this time. Friendlier. We met at the diner in town, coffee and pie between us. Rob, I want to apologize for how things went before. My clients were aggressive. But I'm here on behalf of the HOA now, different group. And they've got a proposal that might interest you. Still not selling my easement. Not asking you to. They want to lease temporary access during construction of a new security gatehouse at their south entrance. 3 months, maybe 4. They'll pay $10,000, restore any damage, and you'd never know they were there. I studied him. Why do they need my access? Their current entrance road can't handle the cement trucks and equipment delivers without tearing up the landscaping. Your easement is a straight shot. Makes the logistics much simpler. And after construction, they're done. No permanent access. Nothing in perpetuity. Just a short-term lease. I thought about it. $10,000 for letting trucks cross land they wouldn't even disturb. I'd made worse deals. And the contract Vickers showed me was clear. Temporary construction access only, 4-month maximum. Full restoration required. I signed it on October 19th. The construction started in November. Cement trucks, equipment haulers, material deliveries. They used my easement exactly like Vickers said. Tore it up pretty good, but that was expected. I documented everything with photos. The gatehouse went up fast. Fancy thing, looked like a miniature chateau. The HOA president, Brielle Ashford Kent, 42, former pharmaceutical sales rep, turned full-time HOA tyrant, posted updates on their community Facebook page like she was building the Sistine Chapel. Then January came. The 4-month lease expired. The construction crews didn't leave. I called Vickers on January 20th, the day after the lease termination date. Got his voicemail. Left a message. Called again 2 days later. Same thing. Finally reached him on January 25th. Martin, the lease expired. Your crews are still using my access. Oh right, there's been a small delay. Weather pushed the timeline back. Should be wrapped up in 2 weeks. The contract says 4 months maximum. We're past that. I understand, Rob. Tell you what, I'll have them cut you a check for another $5,000. Call it a goodwill extension. The check arrived. I didn't cash it. February came. The construction crews were still there. Now they were adding decorative stonework, installing lighting, planting Bradford pears in ornamental beds. This wasn't finishing up. This was landscaping. I drove down to the site on February 14th. The foreman was a guy named Daryl, mid-30s, wearing a Carhartt jacket and a company hat. When are you all clearing out? I asked. Probably another 3 weeks. They keep adding stuff to the punch list. You know this is my private property you're on, right? He blinked. I thought this was the HOA access road. It's my easement. You're here on an expired lease. Daryl pulled out his phone, made a call, handed it to me. Martin Vickers on the other end. Rob, I apologize for the confusion. The lease is expired. Get your people off my land. We're almost done. One more payment, same terms, no more payments. Contract's over. I hung up. Told Daryl he had 72 hours to clear out, or I'd have the sheriff remove them for trespassing. He looked miserable, but nodded. 72 hours later, they were gone. But the damage was done. My easement was destroyed, rutted, cracked, sections of asphalt just gone. And when I walked down to look at the new gatehouse, I saw something that made my stomach drop. The decorative stone pillars flanking the entrance, the ones with Riverside Meadows carved into bronze plaques, sat 4 feet onto my property. The whole western wall of the gatehouse, actually. Maybe 8 feet of structure total. I pulled the survey map from my truck, checked it against my phone's GPS. No question. They built on my land. I called the surveyor I'd worked with for 20 years, guy named Ed Parsons. He came out the next day with his equipment, shot the boundaries, marked everything with stakes and flags. His report was clear. The gatehouse encroached on my property by approximately 64 square feet. I sent the report to Vickers with a letter. Polite, but firm. Remove the encroaching structure within 30 days or face legal action. Vickers called me that evening, voice tight. Rob, this is a surveying error on the contractor's part. It's an easy fix. We'll file an encroachment agreement. Pay you fair compensation for the square footage. I don't want compensation. I want it removed. That's not realistic. The structure is completed. Removing it would cost hundreds of thousands. Should have surveyed before you built. Be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You built on my land without permission. Remove it. He tried negotiating. Offered $20,000, then $40,000. I refused every offer. Finally, he got frustrated. Rob, you're being unreasonable. No judge is going to make us tear down a completed structure over 4 feet of boundary dispute when we're offering fair compensation. We'll see. I hired a lawyer. Not some solo practitioner. I went to Charleston and retained Ellen Hodges, a property attorney who'd won 3 major easement cases in the last 5 years. Cost me $15,000 just for the retainer, but she was sharp as a new blade. She filed suit on March 3rd. Removal of encroaching structure, damages for unauthorized use of property, and a request for injunctive relief preventing HOA use of my easement for any purpose. That last part was the hammer. Because my easement wasn't just where they built, It was still the easiest access to their gatehouse for maintenance, deliveries, everything. Their official entrance required a loop through the neighborhood. My easement was direct. The HOA filed a response claiming good faith error, minimal encroachment, and requesting the court allow them to purchase the affected land at fair market value. Ellen responded with 30 pages of documentation showing they'd been warned, had exceeded their lease, and had proceeded with construction knowing the survey was questionable. But courts are slow. The hearing was set for June. Meanwhile, the gatehouse stood there, gleaming and finished. And Brielle Ashford Kent decided to throw a ribbon-cutting ceremony. I got the announcement in my mailbox. They'd included the whole road, even though I wasn't an HOA member. Join us May 18th for the grand opening of Riverside Meadows Security Center. Light refreshments, tours, meet our new security staff. I mark my calendar. May 18th was a Saturday, perfect weather. They'd set up a podium, folding chairs, a catering table with finger foods that probably cost more than I spend on groceries in a month. 50, 60 people showed up, residents, board members, even the county commissioner who was always looking for photo ops. Brielle stood at the podium in a cream-colored dress that probably had a designer name I wouldn't recognize. Her voice carried across the crowd, syrupy and self-congratulating. Today represents Riverside Meadows' commitment to safety, security, and community excellence. This state-of-the-art facility ensures controlled access, professional monitoring, and the peace of mind our residents deserve. I stood in the back, wearing my work jeans and a clean flannel shirt. A couple of people glanced at me, probably wondering who invited the contractor. Brielle cut the ribbon. Everyone clapped. The security guard, new hire, looked about 23, opened the gatehouse door for tours. I waited until the initial rush died down, then walked up to the podium. Brielle was talking to the commissioner, her laugh bright and artificial. "Excuse me," I said. She turned, her smile flickering when she saw me. "Can I help you?" "Rob Sullivan. I own the property your gatehouse is sitting on." The color drained from Brielle's face like someone pulled a plug. The county commissioner looked confused. The conversations around us went quiet. That ripple effect when people sense drama. "I'm sorry, what?" Brielle's voice had gone up half an octave. I pulled the folded survey report from my jacket pocket, handed it to her. "Your gatehouse encroaches on my property by 64 square feet. You were notified in March. I filed suit for removal." She stared at the document like it was written in Sanskrit. There must be some mistake. No mistake. Ed Parsons surveyed it. That's his report. You'll also notice the access road you've been using for construction? That's my private easement. Your lease expired in January. The commissioner stepped forward, hands raised in that universal gesture of let's all calm down. "Now, I'm sure this is something that can be worked out. It's in litigation," I said. "Hearing's June 14th. Just wanted to congratulate you on your grand opening." I walked away. Behind me, Brielle's voice rose, sharp and panicked, already making phone calls. The hearing was in Hampshire County Circuit Court, Judge Patricia Moreland presiding. She was 61, had a reputation for zero tolerance for BS, and had grown up on a farm before going to law school. I liked her immediately. The HOA's lawyer was someone new. Vickers had apparently bailed, and he came in swinging. "Your Honor, this is a minimal encroachment resulting from good faith surveying error. The plaintiff has been offered generous compensation exceeding fair market value. Requiring demolition of a $57,000 structure over 64 square feet is punitive and unreasonable." Ellen stood up, calm as Sunday morning. "Your Honor, the defendant knowingly exceeded their lease term, continued construction after being warned of boundary issues, and built a permanent structure on land they neither owned nor had permission to use. This isn't a surveying error. It's trespassing with concrete." She walked the judge through the timeline, the expired lease, my repeated warnings, their refusal to halt construction. Then she pulled out her ace. The defendant claims removing the structure is unreasonably costly, yet they chose to build it. The law doesn't protect someone from the consequences of their own negligence. Property rights are absolute. You don't get to keep what you build on someone else's land just because removing it is expensive. The judge read through the documents, her expression unreadable. Finally, she looked up. "I'm inclined to agree with the plaintiff. However, I'm going to order a 30-day mediation period. If the parties can reach an agreement, wonderful. If not, we'll proceed to a ruling on removal." We went to mediation. The HOA offered $75,000 for the encroached land, plus an easement agreement for access. I countered, remove the encroaching portion of the structure, restore my easement to its original condition, and pay $50,000 in damages for unauthorized use. They refused. We went back to court. Judge Moreland's ruling came down on July 22nd. I was in my truck when Ellen called. We won. Complete victory. The judge ordered the HOA to remove the encroaching portion of the gatehouse within 90 days, restore my easement at their expense, and pay $42,000 in damages plus my legal fees. Her written opinion quoted property law going back to the 1800s. A structure built on another's land, even in good faith, does not convey ownership. The landowner's right to exclude is paramount. The HOA appealed, lost again in October. The demolition happened in November, almost exactly 1 year after construction started. I watched from my porch as crews carefully dismantled the western wall, removed the stone pillars, cut back the foundation. The gatehouse still stood, but it looked lopsided now, embarrassed. They had to redesign the entrance, add temporary barriers. Cost them another $30,000 in modifications. My easement was repaved, properly graded, better than it had ever been. The check for damages and legal fees cleared in December, $126,000 total. Brielle resigned from the HOA board in January. I heard she and her husband moved to North Carolina, sold their house at a loss to get out quick. The new HOA president, a retired engineer named Tom Westfield, called me in February. Mr. Sullivan, I want to apologize for how you were treated. That should never have happened. Appreciate it. I also want to ask, and feel free to say no, but would you ever consider selling us a proper easement? We'd pay fair price. Do it right this time. Legal and respectful. I thought about it. The anger had burned itself out. What remained was just weariness and the satisfaction of a principled defendant. Send me a proposal. We'll talk. We negotiated for 6 weeks. In the end, I sold them a 20-foot easement across the front of my property for $90,000, with a contract that spelled out every detail: their maintenance responsibilities, my retained rights, dispute resolution procedures. It was fair. Both sides walked away satisfied. The money went into my retirement account and a college fund for my grandson. The easement gets used daily now, residents coming and going, delivery trucks, service vehicles. Doesn't bother me. It's legal now, compensated, respectful. I still live on those same 43 acres. My equipment yard's expanding. Just bought a new excavator, a Komatsu PC360 that purrs like a cat. Business is good. My son's been working with me for 5 years now, learning the trade. Probably take over in another decade. Sometimes I drive past that gatehouse. It still looks lopsided to me, even after the modifications. There's a gap where those bronze-plaqued pillars used to sit, a reminder built into the architecture itself. I'm Rob Sullivan. I'm 58 years old. I've been moving dirt for 32 years, and I've learned that the most important thing you can move is a boundary marker when someone tries to pretend it doesn't exist. Property rights are an abstract. They're not suggestions. They're lines surveyed, deeded, and defended. And when someone crosses those lines thinking you won't notice or won't care or won't fight back, the answer is simple. Make them move it back. Every single time.